Good evening, everybody. This is Ella Bates, your efficiency educator, and I'm really happy to welcome you all onto our Facebook Live. Now, first things first, I want to make sure that A, our comments is working, B, you can hear me, and C, you've got every opportunity to take down all the notes that you want. So if you haven't had a chance already, go grab yourself your learning journal, if you have one, a notepad, sticky notes, whatever it is, a whiteboard, go get something because you're going to want to take big and beautiful notes because you'll want to take big and beautiful action. So I'm just going to go on here and make sure that we're working on our comments, which is awesome. Let's have a look here. Here we go. Perfect. I've got the comments up. Wonderful. If you can hear me, if you can please put a comment saying, yes, I can hear you, just so I know people are alive and who we have on here. So while I'm waiting for people to comment and other people to join us, I want to point out as to why this webinar, Facebook Live even, was created in the first place. So I have a wonderful program coming up on the 1st of March, shameless plug, Designing Superior Presentations. And that's really about structuring your presentation. And I had quite a few questions asked me via private message saying, this is great. I'd love to be able to structure my presentation, but I get really nervous. I suffer from terrible anxiety. I don't know where to start when I get up on the stage. What do I do beforehand? Is there other things I should eat? And there was all these questions. And I thought, you know what? Let's do this complimentary. It is Valentine's month. Let's help you all out and give you some great tips on mastering that presentation. So let's imagine you've already been on my course, of which some of you who are already watching already, of course, have been. How do you go about being a master speaker? Well, let me tell you, first of all, a little bit of my background. I've been speaking since I was 5 years old, narrating school plays and all sorts of things. I've been a radio presenter. I've also been been live on TV many times as a presenter. I was the TV host of a Carnival Cruise Line's TV show, which is kind of fun. I also did a broadcasting study with the BBC. That was super cool, very interesting. But officially since 1998, I have been a speaker facilitator. Also, just to let you know, if you see my eyes dart from here, I have a very small webcam at the bottom left-hand side of my screen. So I want to make sure that you're seeing what I've seen, just in case my eyes are darting. And of course, I have my notes, of which I'll talk through why I have those and why they're important just shortly. So that's my experience, but most of you know that the number one fear in North America and in the States is public speaking. You have death at number 5. People are scared of dying at number 5, not number 1, number 5. Number 7 was loneliness. Something like, a kind of, I've just got a couple of comments here. Yes, I did. Thank you. I was on Rogers TV a couple of times with Denise Merrick, Sandy Grant. Yes. Loneliness at number 7, number 5, death like crazy. But it's number 1. Public speaking is a huge fear. People don't like it. Number 1 reason why, it's the ultimate judgment. Now, for me right now, I can't see you. So it's like I'm talking to myself. And I'm okay with that because I like myself. But of course, it's the ultimate judgment. All eyes on you, an open audience. And it's that fear of saying something wrong or maybe even the imposter syndrome. But we'll go into a couple of things like that in just a second. So here are my tips, and at any point, please stop me, throw a comment in. I'll go into the comments and I'll be able to address them periodically for you. 2 things you need to be really good at as a speaker. Number 1, you have to have a really good structured presentation. And what I mean by that is, it's coming in and going, blah, with all your information. There's some structure to it. Here's my background. Here's why I'm the credible expert. Here's the body of the information, the introduction, the closing. What are you wanting to do as a result of them attending? All this wonderful stuff, which is in the workshop that's coming up on the 1st of March. You have to have some structure to it. Second of all, you have to be able to facilitate it in a way that gets people motivated and engaged and ready to take action. Like it or not, being a speaker, and whether that's around a table and a networking session, or you're in front of 10 or 15 people as a speaker, or your keynote speaker to 3,000 people, which is the maximum amount of people that I've done live in an audience. And I find 10 more frightening than 3,000, but that's another story. You are a salesperson. You are generally selling an idea to make changes, an idea to capitalize on, an idea to contract your service, an idea of there's something new out there that can help them solve a problem. So you are a salesperson. So there needs to be a certain degree of sales knowledge, which is kind of interesting. Let me just check in here. Love my new glasses. Oh, thank you. These aren't my new ones. These are my old ones, actually. So, which is why I'm doing this a lot, too, because I'm waiting for my new ones to come in. But thank you, Sue. Anya, welcome. I'm so glad you're able to join us. I just met Anya today at Heart of Networking. Another fabulous networking session today. So, let's start about mastering the presentation techniques. And I'm not even going to talk, first of all, about actually starting to deliver your presentation. I'm going to talk about things leading up to it. So, number one is you need to practice. Practice. The only way that you can perfect your speaking ability is to speak, and speak some more, and speak, and speak, and speak. And for some of you, you might be thinking, no, I don't want to do that. I want you, once you've designed your presentation, find someone fabulous who you trust. And whether you do that with a glass of wine in you or not, for a bit of Dutch courage, or, do some yoga and some meditation beforehand, find a good friend. Say, hey, I need to practice this speech on you, and I want you to rip it to shreds and tell me, A, what was awesome, and B, what was not. So I'm going to introduce you to a 3-point system of feedback. It's called stop, start, and continue. Stop, start, and continue. So when you ask people for feedback, it's very, very simple to say, what did I need to stop doing which wasn't good, didn't have a good reaction? What do I need to start doing that I didn't already do? And what do I need to continue to do because that was super awesome? Get somebody's advice. Now, for some of you, you might be thinking, no, I don't want to do that. No. That's okay too. Very simply, all you need to do is get your phone. That's my phone. Here, stick it in the corner, press record, deliver it to yourself. You'll be able to see yourself in the video, and then look back on it afterwards and ask yourself, what do I need to stop? What do I need to start? And what do I need to continue? And I know it sounds pretty cheesy, and I've had sessions where I have had people record themselves, and that's generally when I do a 2 or 3 day full workshop. And people don't like to record themselves because we're our own worst critics, and more often than not, we'll talk about specifically what we didn't like. So it's important to really, really look in at what you were proud of, what looked pretty awesome to you. But some people don't like to record themselves, but let me tell you, it's something else. The first time I did it, I was back in the day where and I don't have an example right in front of me. So we had what I call the clicker. Is that you can change the slides with. And mine, particular one, was about this big. And it was, the first time I recorded myself was back in, let's think about this, 2006. I was working on the cruise ships, and I was being observed by the master trainers from head office about how I was training the captains, the first officers, the top guys on the ship about what to do in the event of a crisis and crowd control. So I was teaching them that. So anyway, and it was almost as big as this here. So I'm holding it. And I found myself, I've always had really long nails, and I found when I was talking, I was doing lots of tapping. I must have driven my participants bonkers. And I'd probably been doing it for years, and nobody said, hey, Ella, that tapping's driving us nuts. Nobody likes to give you that kind of feedback. So watching yourself, you can kind of go, oh my gosh, do I do that all the time? And when you get a conscious awareness, you'll stop doing it. What I also found was, and I thought I gesticulated too much, is that I gesticulated the same all the time. I was constantly talking like this. We're going to talk about body language in a few minutes because that's important. And it drove me crazy watching it. And of course, I did some other wonderful stuff that I thought, that's great. I hope that I do that on the day. I hope I do that the next time I deliver it. So really do consider practice. If you don't practice, you're going to have no dry run, and you can't iron out the difficulties. Now, here's the number 2 about it. So, preparation, for those that have been on my productivity bootcamp, you may or may not know the 6 Ps. If this is the only thing that you write down tonight, make this be the one. 6 Ps. Proper, prior, planning prevents poor performance. Proper prior planning prevents poor performance. 80% of what you do is in the planning, 20% is in the execution. Fact. Anything. You look at any of the Nobel Prize winners, they will talk to you about that being absolute fact. There is lots of preparation that you're going to want to do prior to getting on the stage. So let's look at a couple of those. I wrote myself a list of the things that I do and that other people did. I looked this afternoon as one of some of the top speakers that I consider, what they do. Has anyone here watched I'm Not Your Guru by Tony Robbins? Yeah, so there's a couple of people saying yes, and I'm getting some texts here from people saying, yes, I love Tony. Anyone that knows me, I love Tony. What he does is he bounces on a trampoline, a mini trampoline, not like a big stonking one, a mini trampoline, like the exercise trampolines you see on the shopping channel. And he bounces on a trampoline. And I know someone else that does that, Wendy Vineyard. She bounces up and down on a trampoline. And I was like, wow, why do they do that? And when I watched Tony Robbins, I'm Not Your Guru, I found out, if you haven't watched it, it's amazing. It's on Netflix. You could probably YouTube it as well, but you didn't hear that from me. What he does is he gets the blood flowing and the oxygen going, because we all know that when you are oxygenated, your concentration level and your confidence level rises like tenfold. And what Tony does is he gets himself all revved up. So if you've ever seen him deliver any presentations, he doesn't come out onto the stage and say, good evening, I'm Tony Robbins. He's like, yeah, and he's this big ball of energy, and he's 7 foot tall anyway, so he's this grand, majestic man, and he has all his power. But you can do that too. Now, I'm not necessarily saying, stick a trampoline in your car and bounce up and down before your next workshop, although, if you have that in your office, great. What I'm suggesting that you do is you exercise, and here's what I do. Especially recently, I've been going to the gym 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'll go for a swim. I'll get myself energized. I'll get my heart pumping. I'll get, the oxygen really, really flowing from the exercise. I drink more water, so I'm more hydrated. And you'll notice here I have a huge thing of water. Very, very important. I know Sue here on the call, she always, whenever I'm doing any of her workshops, always has a big vat of water. We're made a massive percentage of water. We need water. We need oxygen. So preparation is that mental preparation too. But exercising is a huge way of getting lots of energy. And let's face it, it's 8:13 at night. I have 2 young children. I've already done a trade show, and I spent 3 hours in the office this morning. I cooked dinner, got everything sorted, and I'm doing this delivery of this Facebook Live, but I'm still energetic. And for most of you know, especially if you saw my personal post last night, I don't drink caffeine or anything, so this is decaffeinated. But I'm energized because I stay energetic. So when you are delivering, you want to be able to express that passion. So exercising beforehand, brilliant. It also, because your heart will want to calm down, it will calm you down and your nerves. So tip number 1, avoid sugary drinks. So I've seen some people who don't feel that they have lots of energy, have Red Bull and Monster and all these other crazy sugary drinks, and even just, fresh orange and things like that has lots and lots of sugar content. What that's going to do is going to spike your sugar levels. You're going to have a sugar crash, and also you're going to have the driest mouth in the world. Don't do it. Simply don't do it. Don't have a can of pop. The likeliness that you might be belching is high. Don't eat brand new food right before your presentation. Honestly, don't do it. If you start having acid reflux and you're like, oh, pardon me. let me clear my throat every 5 minutes, it's very disruptive to people learning. So don't eat anything completely new that you don't know how you react to, and drink lots of water and avoid sugary drinks. Exercise. Okay. Another thing too, I'm sure your mum told you, especially when you have a cold or flu, and let's face it, it's that season right now, you want to be avoiding all dairy at all costs. You know why? Mucus. Okay, it's going to make you be like, all the time. Again, dry mouth syndrome. It's no fun. You're going to want to be in a role. You're going to want to have that same level of energy. You want to get people excited. So avoid all things like that. So now you've got yourself all psyched up. You've eaten. You've got your water, potentially your tea or your coffee. Make it decaffeinated. Honestly, you will absolutely thank me for that. You don't want to be having the jitters and speaking really, really fast so people don't really understand you. And right, you want to be a good level of energy and passionate about it. People ask me a lot about taking their notes. Oh, 1 second. Let me just check in here in my comments. Hydration, yes. Love doing that. Laurie says, thank you, Laurie. We're talking about jumping on a trampoline. Hey, tell us, are you the kind of person that jumps on a trampoline and gets yourself going before a workshop? Thank you for your comments there. So people ask me about their notes, and what I generally tend to do, if it's a PowerPoint style presentation, which can be great, by the way, and it can also be the death of speaking, but that's the kind of thing we talk about in our workshop. The key is to have, yes, bouncing on a trampoline. Good for you, Laurie. One great thing to do is next to your slides, just have a key couple of bullet points of which you're talking about. Do not walk around with your script, because here's what's going to happen. You're going to be looking at it periodically and go, oh, don't know where I'm up to. And then you're going to say it, and it's not going to feel authentic, and it's not coming from the heart, and it's not speaking from experience. It's not telling a story. It's not memorable. It's not going to be as inspiring. These are all the things that you want to have. Yes, I have notes. Let me just show you my notes. My notes are bullet pointed. Yeah, just very, very simply notes. And as I see them, I'm going to start talking about them, share a story, tell you why it's a viable option for you, why you're doing speaking engagement. Very, very simple. If you practice your speech, all you need is the bullet points, and potentially if you're using PowerPoint's great to have a reminder of those bullet points, so you never have to look at your notes. You can be like, okay, so next on the agenda, we're going to talk about this. And then it's all on the slides for those who like to look at something else instead of you all the time, as I'm sure some of you are doing already. Just looking at the same person all the time can be very boring. We're used to a lot of simulation. So some of you, your eyes may be wandering. You may have even been clicking on your phone or half watching a movie in the background there. But that's okay. You're hearing me, and that's important. But it's good to see two different visuals. But that's another thing. Okay, let's go back to proper prior planning prevents poor performance. In fact, let me write this in the comments for you. Proper prior planning prevents poor performance. Right. So, we have all our materials. The night before, you're going to want to do a checklist. What do you need? Do you need your handouts? Do you need to have your notes and your bullet points? Do you have a backup of those if you lose them? Always assume the worst. For example, tonight, about 7:30, I decided to turn on my computer. I'd been on sleep and hibernation, and it decided to update itself. But I was okay. That has happened to me right in the middle of a webinar to about 300 people at my last corporate job. So I always have my phone right next to the laptop. So if anything happens, I can just go live. And that's with any system. If you're using Zoom conferencing, GoToWebinar, anything like that, most things are, hi Rosanna, most things are available via an app. So you need to have a backup at all times. I have all my little notes here backed up onto one set of paper, so it didn't look like I had all these notes. So I had both of them here just in case, the cat comes in and spill things over. I have a backup. I want to eradicate everything that could possibly make me not feel confident anymore about delivering the workshop, the speaking engagement, the 10-minute webinar, the Facebook Live, whatever it is that you're doing. I want to have that confidence that I have everything in front of us that I need. Always plug your laptop in. If you're using PowerPoint, plug your laptop in. Make sure it is fully charged. Nothing worse than your charge going down and you think, I need that as my prompter. No, okay? Make sure everything is all set the night before. Pack it all in your bag. Have a tick list. Anything you need last minute goes in there. And also, always bring your water. I swear by this. I'll do a shameless plug. This is my Tupperware. It's insulated, which means it keeps really cold. Now, do be wary. Some people are from extreme cold or extreme heat in their throat. It will make them kind of gargle up. For me, I'm okay with very, very cold, very, very hot, not so much. But that again is personal preference. Okay, so you've arrived. You're going to go there early. Get there super early. You could even get there the day before, the night before, a couple of weeks before. Go and check out where you're going to be presenting. Because let me tell you, when you do that, you can get the scope of, what's in your way. Is there a focal point you can use? Where are people going to be sitting? Do I need to have things over here and have things over there? Am I going to have enough space to walk around, to be able to tell my stories? Am I going to be squished in a corner? Sometimes they're not very well set up in some events spaces for for someone who's very gregarious and able, to be very, very visual. So you may only have a small space, just like I have today. So I have a box. I've taught a politician, actually. I've taught a couple of people on body language within the box of the TV, and this is from my BBC training back in the day, 2006, I believe it was. It was really interesting. And they taught you how to present only in a box. Because if you start, talking about things out here and I'm showing you something wonderful, you can't see it until I bring it into the screen. So be wary of that, but that's a whole other workshop. Anyway, if you go somewhere and you get to check it out, you're going to know, okay, good. And you can visualize success in that space. I know we've got the lovely Laurie Appleby here. She does a manifesting course. I'm sure you can all talk to her separately. There's another shameless plug for you there, Laurie. You want to manifest visualizing success in that room. So you can imagine yourself going up there, feeling great and confident and really giving your audience a lot of value. And having, you can visualize them clapping or saying thank you on the way out or shaking hands, or even just visualize how good you're going to feel on the way out. So that's a really, really good thing. It's generally what I'll do if I'm finding out I'm presenting, especially when it's somewhere quite large. I like to go and suss it out a couple of days before. So yes, get there. So get there early, get set up, put your water out, whatever it is that you need, because you want to be ready to greet people. Now, some of you may have heard me speak about a chap called Michael Bunjay Steiner. He's from Box of Crayons. Check him out. I follow him on LinkedIn predominantly. Awesome. Corporate training, amazing coaching habit. He is phenomenal at the pre-speaker part. Pre-speaker part, what does that mean? When you are the speaker, it is inherent inside you to hide until you want to go and speak. But it's the worst thing that you can do. I would highly recommend having the person that's hosting the event, have them introduce you to people. What you want to do is you want to make a connection with people prior to the speaking event. People will love that they've met you, the famous speaker. Oh, this is Ella Bates, our speaker tonight. Wonderful to meet you. What is it that you do? And you're going to get a bit of a sense of who these people are and what they're expecting out of you, which again instills you with confidence. Okay, great, I'm covering that. Okay, great, I'm not. I can tell them that it's stuff I can send them afterwards. That's okay. You're also going to find some really friendly people you're going to meet, and you're going to want to hone in on them. The second any fear, if any fear or any anxiety or any of this imposter syndrome kicks in, you find those friendly faces and you lock eyes with them because you know that they're enjoying your presentation, and this is exactly what they need as well. And hopefully you are absolutely delivering only to your ideal client anyway. In an ideal world, excuse me. I'm at my point where I need my tea. Bottoms up, as we say in the UK. Cheers, salute. Some shaking hands with people. Hi, how are you? Making a connection, because people will learn from you. People will buy from you. You've heard this many, many times from many, many speakers, when they know, like, and trust you, or when what you're saying with them, saying to them resonates with them. When you go, that's me. She's talking about me. Yeah, I need that. The very second that they feel that, and they feel that personal connection with you, is when they buy into you. And then secondary, they're going to buy into your idea, buy into your product, buy into your service, buy into your concept, buy into your business model, whatever it is that you're talking about, buy into the methodology, for example. So find those people, you can lock eyes with them, because you are absolutely going to be meeting people in that audience who are what I call the popcorn gallery. The naysayers, the trolls, whatever you want to call them. There are people going to be sat there in the audience like this. You're going to be able to tell me something I don't know. You're going to have people sat there like this. Fascinating. And you're going to have the people who are going to want to ask a question and try and catch you out. It's going to happen. There's just no doubt about it. We'll talk about questions in a second. Let me just go to the comments here real quick, just to remind you, absolutely, if you have a question, please pop it into the comments. I'll address them when I can. That really helps, especially if you're nervous. Yes, from Laurie about the visualization. Huge. You Google how to visualize yourself as a great speaker. There's some really great things out there. There's some really great meditations out there as well. Thank you, Darren. He says that's an amazing tip. Makes lots of sense. I'm glad I am making sense. I hope you're getting value so far. We are 26 minutes in and I have lots to cover still. Let's have a look here. So you've met your audience. You're all prepared. Proper prior planning, preventing poor performance. You have your fantastically written speech, which you've gone on my workshop and you've learned exactly how to do this. You've got the confidence, you've practiced, you know what you had to stop, start and continue to do. You've met your audience and now it's time to get up there and speak. And someone's introducing you and your heart, everybody, me included. I've probably done thousands of presentations. I'm not trying to boast here. I genuinely have done that many presentations and speaking engagements. And there isn't a time my heart doesn't go. Da, 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 da. And here's what I'll tell you. First of all, we get nervous because we really care. If I walked on stage and was all like, I'm all really cocky and confident and who cares what you guys think, it's not going to have the right impression anyway. And you want to go on there authentically being yourself, and it's okay to be a little nervous. If you are finding you are shaking and all this other wonderful stuff, I've got some great tips for you in just a few minutes about that. But Simon Sinek, if you don't know who he is, look him up. Got some great podcasts, great webinars. He hates public speaking, hates it with a passion. But he's also one of the top searched people on TED Talks. Go on TED.com. Simon Sinek talks absolute sense. Brilliant if you haven't watched him. Great to listen to in the car, be doing long journeys. Anyway. He says the key to really capturing your audience right at the very start is to not start talking straight away. And when I first read this, I'm like, I'm not sure how I can manage that because, you probably notice I like to talk. But he says, you come out on stage or you go to the place where you're presenting and you just give it a couple of seconds before you say anything. And just drink in who's in the front of the room, lock eyes with a couple of people, smile, and then start to speak. And he said that it absolutely cures most of his nerves. And what it does, it means that you're not literally coming out on the stage and then going, blah, with as much information as you can tell, because all of you who are writing speaking engagements or presentations have something really wonderful and very valuable to say. And it's worth having that pause. Silence is absolute golden. You're going to want to have silence throughout, just little pockets. 1 or 2 or 3 seconds of silence. I'm not doing it too much tonight because I'm trying to get it all into an hour. But you're going to want to have people to have enough time to really digest what you're saying and have a second or so for them to go, what does that mean for me? What can I take action on as a result of what that person's saying? Excuse me. That's a milk in my tea. I should learn from my own advice. The mucus. But yeah, Simon Sinek said that. I thought it was really interesting. Another thing to tell you as well, Gandhi, he actually ran out of his first courtroom appearance. He felt so sick about speaking. And although he absolutely knew what he was going to say, he knew he was the right person to represent his clients, he ran out of the courtroom. Happens to the best of us. Now, hands up, who those out there in the audience have seen the movie Made in Manhattan? It's an olden goldie. I'm going to say that. It's probably late 90s. Jennifer Lopez, Made in Manhattan. Well, if you have seen it, you're going to remember this. One of the greatest tips I was taught, and it was when I was learning about EFT, which is emotional freedom techniques. Let me see if I can find one in here. I should have had one to show you. Come on, I've got to have a paper clip in here somewhere. So in the movie, he talks about what you can do to be a really great presenter and get rid of the nerves. And he said, you could have a paperclip in your pocket. I thought, that's really, really weird. And I looked more and more into this. And again, this is the 90s. And when I learned more about emotional freedom techniques, one of your gamut spots, you've got two major gamut spots on your hand, one here and one here. And what a gamut spot means is it's directly connected to one of your vital organs. So for those who are in reflexology, be able to talk about this, I'm just going to, excuse me a second, because I'm getting all these pop-ups of me on the screen, and I do not want to see myself 3 or 4 times. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. Maybe in the comments back. Okay, here, awesome. We are back in the game. So, he said what they do, and you'll notice Napoleon used to do this, Prince Charles does it, and I'm watching people all over the place doing it now. So if you know in your thumb, this is directly connected to your heart. Excuse me. And if you're really feeling like your heart's beating like crazy and you need to calm things down, all you're very simply going to do is press something a little hard with the tip of your thumb, just like that. And no one can really see it. Now, if anyone's seen me present, you'll notice that sometimes I walk around with a marker and I'll press really hard on one side of the marker. If I'm feeling a bit especially nervous about that section or just got the butterflies because I'm excited, and it calms me down. And I'm doing it right now, and you can tell that my voice has gone down a bit deeper, and it's simply because I'm pressing really hard on my pen. No one can see that. So holding the pen's really great. If you hold a piece of paper in your hand, you can do that too. You can use it to emphasize. You can be really, really pressing your thumb against it, or a paperclip. You need to make sure that you're not really distracting people by, really doing things with really strong gesticulation. But it's great, and it calms you right down. So you can do that right before you speak, or right away upon starting to speak. So that's a really good way of doing that. So let me go to my my top notes here. So you're starting to speak. Great. People are excited. You visualize your success. Proper prior planning prevents poor performance. You're feeling all confident. You've gone out there and you've given it a couple of seconds before you've said anything, and you go into your speech. Fantastic. Now, a couple of points. You're going to want to ask people if they have any questions, or how does that feel to people, or does that resonate with you? And you're going to ask questions. But what do you do if nobody says anything? Like me now, in the comments. What do you do? And you ask people for... I'm just reading the comments here. Yes, you're asking the question and nobody is asking any questions. So I'm going to I'm going to challenge you. I'm thinking the right word there. I'm going to challenge you with this. You don't ask the question, does anybody have any questions? You say, so what are your thoughts on that? People love to share their thoughts. People love it. Hey, open game for me to share my opinion. I don't have to state fact. I can just say, here's my opinion on what you've just said to me. It will help you with your feedback on the stop, start, continue that we talked about. It's pretty important. So what do you have any thoughts on that? It's a great question to ask. Let's go to what happens if people ask you questions. So if you are in a place where you have a large audience and you're live, for example, and somebody asks you a question, because you are the most credible person in the room, you are very likely to want to be able to answer it immediately. And I'm going to share something with you. And this is tough to do at first because, especially if you're on a roll and you're feeling super confident and you're having a great time delivering to this wonderful group of people, is to say, you know what? I have some thoughts about that. But what does anyone else in the room think about that? Does anyone here have any experience with that? And you're going to find at least 25% of the room who say, oh yeah, I've experienced that. And here's what I did. Or, oh, I have the same question. And what you're going to do is create audience participation. Now, for now on this Facebook Live, it's a little bit challenging for me with that. But if you give people the opportunity to contribute, their rank raises up higher. And for those who've been on the Designing Superior Presentations workshop I do, you already know what rank means, but and where that stands. But rank really is where you stand in the room with credibility. And you're going to want to look like someone pretty cool to the speaker and everybody else in the room. And when you have the opportunity to contribute, not just by asking a question, but by answering someone else's question on behalf of the speaker, makes them feel pretty good. When they feel good about themselves, they feel good about you as a speaker. Mic drop. Huge. First time I tried this, I'm like, oh my gosh, I love it. And it really made me recognize that I may be the forefront, most knowledgeable person in the room, but there's a collective knowledge around that space where everyone can contribute, and then it becomes a group thing and it becomes more of a connection. Really, really great thing to do. So I simply say, any thoughts on that? I have my thoughts on that. Is anyone else in the room wanting to contribute? Let me, on that note, let me just have a look at some of the comments here. I want to make sure that I'm not looking at things. So Sue asks, besides PowerPoint, I've heard about Prezi and any other software presentation software apps you would recommend. So that's a really great question. So I am a little bit of a dinosaur, not going to lie. I love PowerPoint. But here's the key. I know how to use it really advanced. For some people with PowerPoint, they don't. They'll simply use word art or the same font throughout. PowerPoint's become pretty amazing as you can actually click on design tips, and it will give you some suggestions of what to do with that slide to make it look more visually pleasing and things like that. I love PowerPoint. I find it's simple, it's effective. You don't need things spinning around and shooting from corners and, and the page jiggling back and forth. You do not need all that. You need to be a great visual yourself, and you need to have some key actionable takeaway points highlighting high level of what you're saying on the screen. I remember when PowerPoint first came out, everyone was animating everything, and having words crawling across the screen and, things falling from the sky and all these wonderful transitions, and it's not necessary. However, that being said, Sue, who asked the question here, and see, I've seen some of your slides, and some of your slides are pretty awesome, so I wouldn't doubt yourself too highly. Prezi is really, really good. You are going to have to pay for it. You do need to look at the back-end training of it as well and really figure out what it's going to do for you differently than PowerPoint, and if that's something that you need for your client. Are you wanting them to watch your face more? Are you wanting them to have great visuals? Is your ideal client more visual person, less audio? There's a couple of things that you need to consider about that, but we can have a side conversation about that soon. More than happy to do that. Just pop me a private message or drop me an email. Let's have a look at some of the questions. You say, wow, I did my job well. You're welcome. You're welcome. I can only see a certain amount of comments here. Why is that? Sue, I know you had another question. If you wouldn't mind asking it again, I can only see 5 comments at a time. I'm not sure why it is doing that. Let's see here. So you were asking something earlier about if you're wanting to speak as a lead-in for clients. If you wouldn't mind just repeating the question, just so I can answer it properly for you. But thank you very much for your questions and your comments so far, everyone. I appreciate that. Let's see about. I've talked to you about Gandhi. I found that very fascinating. How you dress. How you dress is important. I don't care what anyone tells you about, how you dress shouldn't be important. It doesn't have an effect on people. It may not have an effect on other people, but it's going to have an effect on you personally. Let me tell you why. So, for example, I didn't need to wear a jacket tonight. I could wear my t-shirt. It's nice and warm down here in my office. Like my Tiffany office here. But I love this new jacket, and it makes me feel really smart, and it helps me stand a bit taller. It actually helps me with my posture. So I love wearing it. Also, I don't wear a lot of neck jewelry when I'm presenting, because I find that it kind of goes like this and it bugs me, and I start playing with it, very fidgety. I try not to wear a watch as well. But you want to wear something that's super comfortable and gives you confidence. I'm not talking about your pajamas here, unless it's a pajama speaking party, apparently they're out there. I haven't delivered a pajama speaking party. Actually, that's not true. I did deliver something very closely to my pajamas once. I had to have emergency dry dock on my cruise ship, and we had to have some people flown in from Croatia. We had, oh my goodness, it was like 1,000 engineers all of a sudden came on the ship, and I had to teach them about crowd and crisis and what to do if there was an accident, and how to what to do with the bilge water and all some crazy other things. And I literally made the call and get out of bed and come and deliver this. We've got the big screen up in the 4,000 people amphitheater, like get down here. And and I literally just threw my uniform on and brushed my teeth and I went and delivered it. It was crazy, but it happened. But it wasn't in my pajamas. Anyway, you're going to want to be in clothes that make you feel good. Colours that make you feel good. You'll notice I wear a lot of blue, especially when I'm presenting. If you haven't noticed that, you'll spot it now in all my photographs. Blue's my colour. I love it. Makes me feel good, makes me feel strong and confident. The colour blue allows you to look to other people. It evokes the emotion of trustworthiness as well, which of course you want to have. So dressing appropriately. And you also don't want to wear too high over heels, ladies. If you're doing a long speech, you certainly don't want to be like in pain with your heels and having to rub the back of your thighs or wanting to sit down during your presentation, because that's no fun. Okay, here's back the comment. What colours should a speaker wear? You know what? Go for what you want. Think about your intention behind what it is that you're trying to invoke in other people. You could Google there, Sue, emotional colours. If you look at chakras, they have a lot to do with it as well. Some people that wear purple, can create the look of wealth. It can create the feeling of happiness and joy as well. Red can be seen as determination and powerful. Not so much in men, interestingly enough, mainly for women. Men, black, very, very powerful colour. Grey, more supporting the emotions. If you like, I can send you some information on different emotions it evokes in others and what you're wearing, which is pretty interesting. It's a great question, that. Thank you. But really, whatever brings you joy. You know, if you love wearing yellow, and it makes you feel very flamboyant, then wear yellow. But just know that it's going to evoke an emotion in other people, and they will judge you by how you're dressed if you haven't met them before and made a connection. To see the importance of really speaking to people beforehand. Any tips for selling from the stage? I want to use speaking to allow people to know who I am and ideally upsell them to my coaching program without being too salesy. I want to use speaking to allow people to know who I am. Interesting. So to answer that question, I'm going to tell you that my recommendation would be to talk stories. So like tonight's been very conversational. I haven't, clicked a slide. It hasn't, I didn't write this a week ago. I thought about it a day and a half ago and I got some notes together, right? This is very, very conversational. I'm giving you my personal experience. It's going to be 20 years in September since I started officially being a facilitator, just to show my age there. But I'm very proud of it. And, I've really enhanced my speaking ability. But when it comes to from a sales perspective, and like I said before, you're selling all the time anyway. I'm selling now. If I want to show myself as a credible person for my workshops, I'm selling to you. I'm selling you an idea of how to master the presentations. And if you just think of it from a conversational point of view, there, Sue, and think of it about how you can share your stories and make them compelling and make them motivational and inspirational. I know there's some great workshops out there on storytelling. I know the BACD, the Business Advisory Centre of Durham in Whitby, has a chapter. I think it's actually called the Story Architect. I can look that up for you. Let me make a note of that. Story Architect. What I'm going to do in the comments right after we finish here, I'm just going to put a link for anyone that wants to sign up for all these little things that I'm going to send you. So I'm going to tell you about the colours, the emotions it invokes in people, and I'll look for the Story Architect because it's a really good way of selling. And this guy specifically, he is one of the top experts in sales in the area too. So I am not one of the top speakers on sales by any mean, although I certainly try. But that was a really great question. Thank you. And more often than not, it's lead generation. as you know, speaking. Here's a good one. You don't know, you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. What do I mean by that? Someone's going to ask you a question at least once, and you're going to think, I have no idea how to answer that. And you've got two ways of reacting by going, I'm just trying to bluff your way out of it. Or you can say, you know what? I really don't know, but that's a super interesting question. If ever you don't know, or even, and this is a bit of a trick, so don't tell too many people because you might find me doing it to you or someone else. When you don't necessarily like something somebody's asking of you, or you're not sure how to respond to it, and this could be from a conflict point of view, if you say to someone, that's really interesting that you've asked me that, and give it a second, most people will start to elaborate on what they're asking you. So my point is, if they're asking you something you don't know and you say, that's a really interesting question, they might elaborate on what they want and actually give you the answer, because some people ask you a question because they want to show you how much of an expert they are too. And they want to join in with you and be just like you as a speaker, right? Fact. You're going to get people who are going to try and trip you up with a question too, but it's also okay to say, I don't know, but you know what? I'm going to find out for you. That's really interesting. Thank you for that. I love to learn while I'm here speaking. Do not let it derail you. Remember I said to you about the popcorn gallery is what I call them, the naysayers, the people that sit in the back like, what are you going to teach me kind of thing. They're the kind of people, they're going to ask you those questions. And you might spot them from the very second you arrive and shake their hand and think, you're going to cause mischief for me. These people are sent to try you, whether you believe in the universe or not. They are absolutely there to try you. They will probably promote thought in you, but then they're there to learn something from. So just say, that's super interesting. I can find out. That's interesting. Or in this day and age, and I never had this when I first started, can someone in the audience Google that? That's really interesting. And you're going to get everyone with a smartphone going, oh, I want to know the answer. So I can put my hand up and say, hey, I know that, because it raises their rank of how they feel in the audience. So really think about that, because I know that's one of the trip ups people get. You know, kind of makes them feel, oh no, I've been caught out. It's okay. Also, when they've asked the question, and maybe if it's a hostile question, once you've answered it, you can very simply say, thank you for your question. Now, does anyone else have a question? Divert from these popcorn gallery. You're going to get it. It's fact, unfortunately. Let's see here. Oh, I've got here about being a storyteller. So thank you for that. We already addressed that. And be wary that you're not being a lecturer. Unless you are actually giving a lecture at a university or college, be a storyteller. You're going to really want to be there saying, hey, I'm here to share my experience. I want you to take value from that and go ahead and teach others that and be just as awesome as I know that I can be, and you will be too, right? You're going to, you want to connect with people both mentally and emotionally. And that's the key way of doing that, is absolutely telling stories. Let's see. Body language. Ooh. So I do a separate workshop on body language, but I'm going to teach you this. And it was a chap called Mark Bowden. He does a really great TED talk. He's actually from Toronto, originally from England. I saw him do a really great workshop on presentation genius. And I thought, oh, I love this guy. His body language is on point. And I've self-studied body language for many, many years, since the O.J. Simpson trial. I read a book on the body language psychologist from the trial and was fascinated ever since. Anyway, so I do a small workshop on body language. But here's what he taught me, and I thought it was great. So I'm just going to come into position. I'm not going to dance, anyone. Don't panic. So you have, we actually have 5, but I'm going to show you three what's called planes of spaces that you're going to do gesticulation from. So you'll notice that I've operated from here. Okay, so this is belly button line, if you like. Let me push my laptop back. Hopefully I won't unplug it or anything. So belly button line here. So right at the very bottom of the screen. Hopefully you can see this. This is what's known as the truth plane. Okay, the truth plane. And when you are delivering information, and it's very fact, figure, statistic, scientific, things like that, and things that you'd like people to write down, this is a really great place to work from gesticulation point of view. If you want to get people excited, you'll notice that I've now gone to here, which is where the heart is. Okay. So this is called the energy plane. And when you want people to get motivated and inspired and excited, and I do a lot of this naturally now, just purely through practice, not because I'm anything, nothing close to perfect, but to do it through absolute practice and learning from people like Mark Bowden. Look him up, does a great TED Talk. In fact, I'll send it to you. The TED Talk from Mark Bowden, absolutely brilliant. So truth plane, scientific facts where you want them to take notes. Energetic plane, this is the plane where you want people to get excited and motivated and inspired and ready to take action. And then, very, 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 very hard place to deliver from is from the sternum up to the top of the head. This is the passion place. So when you see Tony Robbins, when you see Gary Vee, you see I'm talking from an energy plane point of view right now. Oh, excuse me. It's that milk again. I should never have had it. They are talking from a passion zone. They're like, this is huge. Take great big action on your goals. And, you know, they want it to get really, really passionate. Well, if you've built up the energy to a level of passion. So let's see who we've got here. Laurie, pure example. Laurie's a forgiveness coach, and you know, she's talking a lot from passion, and a lot of what she teaches is very, very emotional, and it's going to be driven from facts and figures to very energetic to very passionate. Like, this is something that you want to eradicate in your life and grow from, and you're probably going to be talking from up here. And when you decide to video record yourself, which I absolutely suggest that you do, I really recommend looking to see where you're holding your hands. So if you're talking a lot from up here, what you're going to do is, you know, you're going to stress people out. If you talk from here, the entire speaking engagement, and I've seen people do it, and I think, oh no, bring it down. Energy, truth, passion. When you know what you're wanting to, what feeling you're wanting someone else to evoke in them, is where you can operate. And you'll find yourself slightly doing it naturally, but watch yourself when you video. Watch great people on TED Talks. Watch speakers you admire, and you'll be like, ooh, truth zone, energy zone, passion zone. Interesting, eh? I teach all about those on my body language workshop, but that's for another time. Body language, really important. Okay, I have 8 minutes here, so thank you for everyone that's decided to stay on. I appreciate it. Let's just check in here for some colours. You are awesome. Well, I love you too. Thank you very much. You just made my day. Thank you. I blushed a bit too. I don't often blush, but thank you. Body language you want to be very wary of. So let's go back to the question that Sue asked about. We're talking about storytelling. If you're going to tell a story, it's really cool to do a timeline. So if you watch my hands here now, right? I've gone from one side of the box to the other. I'm on a webinar. If you are live out there, it's okay to move from one side of the stage to the other. So, for example, when I'm talking about, I started speaking in 1998. Then in 2004, I did this. Then in 2010, I did this. And then, and you can tell stories with your hands. You can show timelines with your hands. You can show stages with your hands. People love the visuals. For those that have my learning journal, you'll see that there's that purposely left a doodling bit. People love the linear. People love this. People love to know facts, figures, statistics, truth plain, right? People love that. So don't be afraid to use your body language from using sections. So if you're talking about, okay, we're at section 1, preparing for your speech. We're at section 2, delivering it. We're at section 3, closing it, right? It's okay. 1, 2, 3. People remember things. Great way of gesticulating. Look at your gestures. Very, very important. I do run a body language workshop. I run it once a quarter. We did our last one in December there. So there's one coming up in the next 2 months. But look at Mark Bowden's body language. Just amazing, but be very conscious of it, because your body language alone can determine how somebody feels at the end of your speaking engagement. Very, very important. Making a connection, engaging, yes. Okay, let's talk very quickly about closing. So you've done your speech, you've closed. Here's the key, and this is something that I didn't do for the longest time. It was so silly. Is have a call to action. You've now listened to my speaking engagement. Here's what I want you to think of. Here's what I want you to do. Here's what I want you to be inspired by. Here's what I'm going to send you afterwards. Here's what you are going to do to spark you to take big, beautiful action. What do you want them to do as a result of attending your speaking presentation? Be it you're in a roundtable situation, networking with people, and you're giving your elevator speech. Are you just saying, hey, I'm Ella, I do this? Or are you saying, this is what I do, contact me if you think that being efficient is right for your business? Have a call to action right at the very, very end. Super important. I see so many people say, if you have any more questions, come and ask me. Really, really have a really good call to action. You can email me, you can text me, you can private message me, you can go on my Facebook page. I'd love to keep in contact with you. Here is a sheet for you to fill out. Just that call to action is so very important. If you don't ask people to take action, they will likely not do. We like as human beings to be told what to do. Fact. If you want them to buy a product, if you want them to touch and feel a product, if you want them to smell a product, tell them, hey, you can now come and do this. Come smell, taste, touch, feel my product. Very important. I was talking to a lovely lady today at Heart of Networking, and she said, is there anything I could have added to my pitch? And I said, you know what? Actually seeing your product would have made a massive difference. And within like 30 seconds, she come out with this amazing opportunity of her actually putting the material and attaching it to her business card. She handed them round, and she just was inspired to do something to change. You have to have a closing, a call to action, if you want anything to be a lead. So, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I want to really, really thank you for joining me. I hope that you've seen that proper prior planning really does prevent poor performance. 6 Ps. I mention it every single workshop. You'll get bored of me saying it, but it's the truth. 80% of what you do is in the planning, 20% is in the actual execution of it. How to deliver your message with grace and get people excited, but if body language in there. I could talk all night about presenting. I love it. It's what I'm passionate about. I hope that I've shown you that tonight. I'm going to put a link in the comments in just a few minutes so I can send you stuff about the Story Architect, the colours, TED Talks, and Mark Bowden. I said I was going to send you some information on too. I can send that to you afterwards. I'm more than happy to do that. I hope that I've given you some great value to go away with. I hope that now it's sparked big, glorious action for you to go out there and not feel nervous and feel the confidence that you absolutely deserve. I'm going to share with you one last tip before we stop. So right next to my screen, I'm going to show you this picture here. It's a picture of my family. No matter when I present or where, be it on a keyring, when I was doing TV work, I actually had a picture of my mum and dad, funnily enough, against the teleprompter. A lot of people do that. Even the most famous speakers and famous musicians, they have people they really, really care about. It's just as a bit of a reminder of why you're doing it. So don't be shy of doing that. But thank you so much for joining us. Let me just double check if we have any other comments. Thank you. Thanks, Ella. Very informative. You are very welcome. It has been my absolute pleasure. If you have any other questions, I would love to address them. I have a free 20-minute consultation on offer for any of you. I will put a link where you can contact me for that. And I'll also put a link for how you can get the further details from tonight's Facebook Live. But I really do feel very grateful that you've joined me. Thank you for your contributions. I could listen to you eat biscuits. Oh, bless you. Being British. I should have brought some biscuits. I had my tea. Oh my goodness, I've let my country down. I apologise, Great Britain. For now, everybody, enjoy your evening. It's been an absolute pleasure. Until next time, I'll see you then.